Hello all. Thank you for hosting this video about my debut historical novel, The Reversible Mask. The novel recounts the exploits of Elizabethan double agent Edward Latham. When we first meet him, it's summer 1566, and a glittering royal progress is approaching Oxford. With England entering a golden age of prosperity, scientific advancement, exploration, and artistic magnificence, Elizabeth and her Protestant government have plenty to celebrate. But young courtier Sir Edward Latham isn't cheering. Conflicting passions battle for his heart, his Catholic conscience, and love of his country, now Protestant. On this day, religion wins. He throws up title, kin, and country to live abroad. Now, a monk's life is not for him. He's an adventurer and begins spying for Catholic monarchs in Europe. In a tale of intrigue, lust, love, and war, he initially serves Mary, Queen of Scots, then Philip II of Spain. His missions take him to the Brussels bed of the greatest woman singer of the day, an emperor's concubine, to Constantinople, where he sees the fearsome comet of 1578, to the river Scheldt when the first self-detonating bomb ship explodes with devastating effects. But when Europe's religious wars threaten England, his patriotism returns. He risks torture and death to penetrate plots and battle plans to help England prepare for the coming invasion. Actor Doug Shapiro will read an excerpt from Chapter 5, Ambush at St. Ghislaine, A Moment of Clarity, which I've supplemented with visuals and sound effects. By this point, July 1572, Latham is a spy for Catholic Spain against Dutch rebel Protestants in the Spanish Netherlands. Looking at this map, the rebels have seized Mons, which a Spanish army is besieging. In Paris, Latham learns of a secret Huguenot, that's French Protestant, force crossing the French-Netherlands border to relieve the siege. He takes his intelligence scoop to the Spanish army and is ordered to join the Spanish ambush of the French invaders.
Don Cristobal ordered his gunmen to load small shot in the arquebus and balls in their pistols. He led the first square, Alvarado, with their colors, the second, a pikeman, the reserve. "Squares," Don Cristobal yelled, "crouch until their first round of fire. Then pike, hack arms and necks. Gunmen, shoot chests and faces. Square one, attack!" The first square pushed onto the road. Body by body, they forced themselves through Genlis's protectors, disappearing into a mass of enemy fighters. Waiting, Latham was vaguely aware of Spanish horns back up the road, ordering a general charge into the remaining French forces. Alvarado led his square onto the road. Then, the reserve square crossed the ditch. Latham was suffused with fear. Somehow, he'd been shuffled into the front line. His knees knocked. His teeth chattered. His hands shook on the pike staff, which wobbled. This was fighting more exposed, yet more hemmed in than anything he'd known. "Don't hit me," snarled the man next to him as they inched forward. Latham lost awareness of his body. His skin felt as if it was dissolving into diffuse sparklets. He didn't know if he even had a skin. He floated forward because the man behind him pushed. He saw his soul looking down from the ether, pitying the fragile frame that tottered into the chaos of clashing swords and gun smoke, coldly reckoning the credits and debits of its brief life. A feral scream issued from his mouth when his mind finally named the gun pointing at his head as French, the glare of the hating eyes of a killer. His paralysis unlocked. He felt the spirit of Mars lift his pike.
Fact versus fiction. I'm often asked what is true and what I made up. My main character, Edward Latham, is loosely inspired by Sir Anthony Standen, a Catholic courtier who left England in 1565 before Latham does. There's no biography of Standen, but there are several scholarly articles. All of them have one line about the events of 1572. Standen in France somehow got word to the Spaniards that a Huguenot force was heading their way, and that warning reached them in time to ambush the attackers. In my novel, that one line swells to 3 chapters. In chapter 3, Latham suborns a Huguenot captain's courier at a Paris cockfight for the information, taking advantage of the courier's gambling losses. In chapter 4, Latham takes his intelligence to the Spanish embassy. As the ambassador's couriers are engaged, Latham himself rushes the information to Mons. Spanish sentries mistake him for a saboteur and prepare to hang him. But a new sergeant major, Don Cristobal, sees the near hanging through a primitive telescope he'd confiscated from a Dutch apothecary who refused to pay the Spanish 10th penny taxes. Don Cristobal runs across a field to stop Latham's execution. He risks his own career in persuading the Spanish field marshal to mount the ambush. In chapter 5, we are in the battle, and after victory, Don Cristobal and Latham form a bond, a soldier-spy partnership, which Latham must ultimately betray when his prime loyalty reverts to his birth country.